I'm going to show you how to make 3 different things with a very cheap ingredient and very nutritious, which is chickpeas. I have used dried chickpeas. You can use tinned ones, but the dried ones go a long way. So I used half a kilo. I soaked them last night in plenty of water, the water to be above the chickpeas because, you know, they swell up with the water. And in that, I added a small teaspoon of soda, bicarbonate of soda. That helps soften them. This morning, I strained them and I put them back in the same glass bowl. I put lots of water on top to cover them completely, and I put them in the microwave for about 15 minutes, and they were cooked. So all I did was drain them. Now, before we start making our first dish, which requires onion, I want to show you how to chop an onion because many people have accidents cutting onions. So we need a good sharp knife, and we split an onion in half, remove the skin, and then using the knife, we remove this end because this end is holding our onion together, and we chop. This is why our knife must be sharp. Now, for this dish, we don't need the onion to be very finely chopped. We want the onion to be a bit like a vegetable. But when we chop onion, look what I do with my fingers. We hold it like this with our fingers in, and we use our knuckles as a guide for the knife. So look. Yeah, because the knife is going against my knuckles, my fingers are behind, and it's not, I cannot hurt myself. You can do this more finely, but most of the times it is good to use onion as a vegetable. And here I had chopped a little bit more previously because onion gives a lot of flavor to this dish. And I had also chopped 3 celery sticks. They will also give a lot of flavor. So what we do is we bring a pan onto the heat, and in that I have used a little bit of olive oil. I love using olive oil. It has a lot of flavor and it's very good for you. So if you can buy a small bottle of olive oil, any Greek olive oil or even Italian is very good from the supermarket. Use that in your food. It's also vegan. Don't use butter if you can avoid it, particularly when you make very healthy casseroles like this one. So what we do is we put our chopped vegetables in the oil. It should be hot because I had put it previously on the heat. And we let them cook quite a bit before we add the rest of our ingredients. This point of cooking now is called sweating. We don't want to burn the onion because it becomes very bitter, but we want for it to go a little bit translucent, transparent in color, just to cook it a little bit. To this, for flavor, we add a spoonful of tomato paste. You can buy it in supermarkets, normally in tubes. If you don't have paste, do not worry at all about it. You can use 2-3 chopped tomatoes. Absolutely fine. It's just that the flavor of the paste is normally a little bit more intense because the tomatoes have been in the sun. So they've lost a lot of their water. The flavor is much stronger. And the other thing that we put is a little bit of stock. Look how much, not a lot, which will be used to cook our vegetables. And how I always make quick stock is by using this powder thing. It's called bouillon, it's powder. A tablespoonful of that will make you half a liter if you want it. So we give this a good stir. With the chickpeas, try to remember that we only add salt at the end of cooking, because what salt tends to do to the chickpeas is make them hard. So we don't go anywhere near salt with the chickpeas until they're done. And then we are ready to add our spinach. We have some fresh spinach. So remember, this dish is spinach and chickpeas, but if you don't have spinach, experiment. Maybe you can use broccoli, but chop it very finely, very in small pieces. The idea is, in these days of the lockdown, for us to use what we have in our houses. I always have pulses, beans, chickpeas, tins and dried, lentils, fava beans, because you can use them to make meals that really feed the family, delicious, nutritious, and they go a very long way. So our spinach, we want it to obviously wilt. And now we will add some of our chickpeas. It doesn't matter how many. This is our ½ kilo, so I'll just take some with my hands. Because remember, we're going to be making 3 different things with our chickpeas. But you can see already that this will make a meal quite easily for 2 people. And we will add a little bit of water and let it cook for about 10 minutes. Don't forget that our chickpeas are already cooked. Now, while our chickpeas are cooking, what we will do is make our second dish. What I did earlier is roasted 1 sweet potato, 1 courgette, 1 aubergine, and 1 onion. I put them in the oven with a bit of garlic powder, or you can use a couple of garlic cloves. I put a little bit of thyme to give them flavor, salt and pepper, and a bit of olive oil. That's all, again, you need to make a quick roast. So what we do is we mix these beautiful vegetables with a few more chickpeas and mix them all together. Roast whatever you've got. You could use, I wouldn't use normal potatoes. The combination of chickpeas and normal potatoes is not great. But if you've got other vegetables that you enjoy, like butternut squash, carrots, and mix them all together. Roast whatever you've got. You could use, I wouldn't use normal potatoes. The combination of chickpeas and normal potatoes is not great. But if you've got other vegetables that you enjoy, like butternut squash, carrots, parsnips, roast them and use them. This, again, is a wonderful, nutritious dish. And all we do is we empty it on a platter. How many people would you say that would feed? I would say maybe 3, 4 for a good hearty lunch. This is all with our cold cooked chickpeas now. Let's take a bigger spoon. What we will finish this dish with is something that we make again with very few chickpeas, but we add a little bit of tahini, lemon, a bit of garlic, some olive oil. Has anybody guessed what that is? A little bit of a hummus sauce. And that will give it tons of flavor because that will be our dressing. So here is our salad, and we'll put it away temporarily. We will also finish it with a few herbs so that it looks very pretty and it's got that sense of freshness to it. Let's see how our chickpeas are doing. They're cooking nicely. And what I will do, because you've seen what it looks like, I will transfer this to my cooker so that we can use this electric point to make our sauce. I will transfer this to my cooker so that we can use this electric point to make our sauce. So our chickpeas and spinach are cooking beautifully behind me, and now I'm going to make the hummus sauce. So we need a garlic, which we will chop, and it doesn't matter, roughly chopping is fine because a little blender will do the rest for us. The same with the fingers behind. So one garlic clove is enough for the quantity that we will be making. We'll take a few of our chickpeas. You saw we had some left. Look, there is chickpeas here. This is 500 grams. We've made 2 meals. We're making a sauce, and there's still some chickpeas here to use and make something else. Make some thick hummus to spread on your bread. But here we're just making a sauce. So what we'll add to our chickpeas is a little bit of tahini, which is made by from sesame seeds. It's basically ground sesame seeds and sesame oil, but we use it in hummus because it makes it delicious, but also it gives it a creamy, lovely taste. I love using a little bit of cumin, and I bring it from Crete. That's why you see it's in a jar, but you can buy dried cumin. I would advise have a few dried spices because spices add so much flavor to the simplest of your dish. Just invest in a bit of cumin, a bit of coriander, some chili flakes, and then they are adaptable. You can use them in so many different things. Olive oil, it's a must, and in this case I will use extra virgin, but don't worry, just use olive oil. I think it's important to use olive oil. And olive oil, it's a must, and in this case I will use extra virgin, but don't worry, just use olive oil. I think it's important to use olive oil. And because we want it to be thin, I have reserved some of the cooking liquid where we cooked our chickpeas, and we will add a bit of that to loosen it, because remember we want a thin sauce, and lemon. Very important. We can adjust the flavor at the end to suit us. Obviously, a little bit of salt. Again, we can add more at the end, and a little bit of pepper. And we can whiz and see what it looks like. It's a little bit too thick, you can see, so all we need a little bit more of that. I might add a little bit of olive oil. Chickpeas love it and absorb it. And we give it another whiz. You see, now it's much, much better. We want it a little bit thinner than that. It doesn't matter if it has a little bit of texture. In our homes, we don't have the fancy equipment that restaurants have that make the smoothest of purees and things. It doesn't matter. All this is fantastic because it is fiber. So don't worry about the rough bits. We need those too. And I think, oh, it's going to be yummy. And it's perfect consistency too. So let me try a little bit to see if it needs any more seasoning. A little bit more salt. When it comes to seasoning, it is totally personal taste. You have to be happy yourself because some famous chefs and the season, and some famous chefs like seasoning and they make everything very salty. I know this is going to be good now. So remember our roasted vegetables and chickpea salad? All we need is a little bit of our hummus. How good does that look? Isn't it appetizing? Don't you want to eat it? And to brighten our plate and to make it even more appetizing and more flavorsome, I have here mixed herbs from earlier, and we just sprinkle them on. A little bit too big, so we won't use the big leaves. Doesn't that look super delicious? So that's one. We made our sauce. We can use it on other things. We can dip our bread and eat it. Fantastic. And our chickpeas and spinach are ready. We don't need this anymore. So let me move them. And we transfer to a nice plate. This is a heavy saute pan. And what will give extra flavor to this dish, and I love it, is a little bit of crumbled feta. Feta and spinach go beautifully. In Greece, we make some pies called spanakopita, spinach and feta pies, and we munch on them all the time. And the other thing that I might add for a little bit of, you know, oomph, a little bit of bite, is a few chopped chili flakes. And here are two dishes, not expensive, two different meals to feed how many people? It's a feast as far as I'm concerned. Delicious, nutritious, healthy. Make them and enjoy them. Share them with your loved ones. See you next time.